McFappers. Welcome to this episode of Hidden Creatures. Today, Rainey and I are diving into the wonderful realms of Hagstones and
Tommy Knackers.
Tommy Knackers. I'm assuming they're also called Tommy Knockers.
Yeah, but the correct way to say it is Tommy Knacker.
Gotcha. I'm looking forward to an education on that. Go on. So that's what we're looking into today. I hope you all enjoyed the last episode, which was with the sisters. Hope you found that educational and fun. And yeah, I definitely got a kick out of it. Rainey, they can't hear you nodding your head words.
I also found it interesting.
Good. And then next episode is with Rusty. And she is going to be talking about her experience with a witch, or could quite possibly have been a night hag. And she also has some stories to share about the property as well. And she also has some stories about me that has nothing to do with the McFap world, but Rainey found them entertaining nonetheless.
I did.
Rainey, do you want to explain to us what McFap stands for?
Mythical, cryptid, fae, alien, and the paranormal.
And since our last episode we recorded, Rainey has turned the magical age of 12. So there's that happening in our world. Yeah, before we get into it, just housekeeping stuff. Please go check out our family of podcasts. It's called The Alabama Take. If you go over to their website or Google them or however you search for things, I have a whole slew of podcasts over there, sports, TV, music, books, all sorts of stuff. Please go over there, check them out, check out the other podcasts. They're all really good. There should be one that applies to your fancy. I also do another podcast over there called Punk, Love, and Compassion. Not as family friendly, but talk about sort of punk rock, how people found that, and finding community through music, I guess, mostly. We talk about a bunch of other stuff too, but that's sort of how it goes. Yeah, so getting on. So we have been doing this, I don't know what episode number we're on. We've done a couple of these now. And we appreciate everybody who's taken the journey with us, and we appreciate the people who are just now joining us. If you ever want to reach out to us, please feel free. Our email address is mcfappodcast@gmail.com. That is spelled MCFAPPODCAST and at gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. We're always looking for people to come on, talk about stuff, whether it's like you've had an experience with this or you're just really stoked on a certain creature that falls into the category, or aliens or whatever. You just want to come on and talk about strange stuff and theories and stuff like that. We'd love to have you. Reach out to us.
Yeah.
Also, if you have a story, but you don't necessarily want to tell it, we have a couple times told other people's stories anonymously, so we're up for that too. But ultimately, we want to hear your story. We want to help you share your story if you want to share it. So reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. Okay, so today, back to business. Back to the throwdown of the McFap universe plan, Royal Rumble. Who do you think's going to win today in Hagstones versus Tommy Knackers?
What is a Hagstone?
It's the Tommy Knacker. We'll find out.
The Tommy Knacker.
You think the Tommy Knacker would win in a fight?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. And he's shaking his head no. For all of those out there who couldn't see, which is all of you. Okay, who's going first today?
You are.
Me? Okay. So, Hagstones. I was unfamiliar with Hagstones until a couple weeks ago when one of my friends posted online that he had found, like he had gone out rock hunting or hounding or whatever it's called, and had found a Hagstone. So Hagstone sounded like something that is related to us. So I immediately shot him a message and he said, "Hey, what's a Hagstone?" And he said, "It's just a stone with a hole in the middle of it." But me knowing what I know now, realize that there must be something more to it than just a hole or a stone with a hole in it. And to clarify, it is a stone with a naturally occurring hole in it. So if you had a stone and you drilled a hole into it, not a hagstone. If you have a polished stone with a hole in it, not a hagstone. It's a naturally found stone, unpolished, really messed with by man or woman or person with a naturally occurring hole in it. If it's been polished, if it's had a hole drilled in it, it's no longer a hagstone. It's just something that probably looks pretty. And there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes pretty is fine. Hagstones are also called other things. They're called adder stones, witches' stones, serpent's eggs, fairy stones, holy stones, Odin stones. But depending on sort of where you're from or where the predominant folklore is from, you'll hear them called different things because of various sort of legends attached to them. They're also believed to be like adder's eggs, and that's why they're called like an adder stone or an adder egg or dragon eggs, hence serpent's egg. I mean, we should come to expect this now, but my research is not organized, so I'm going to be jumping around. But first thing, so Odin stones, why are they called Odin stones? In an ancient Norse story or poem or whatever, Odin has a dwarf drill a hole through a magical stone. And once this is done, Odin then shapeshifts into a snake and enters the stone. And then on the other side, coming out on the other side, he's able to shapeshift into what looks to be like a young man, a young adult. And he then used that ability in order for him to steal the mead of poetry. So the stone ultimately helped him sort of shapeshift and travel through worlds and stuff like that. So that's called an Odin stone. What else? So going back to just, I'm pretty much going to call them hagstones unless my research dictates me to call them something else. But hagstone folklore, I mean, pretty much encompasses, its history encompasses pretty much all of Europe from Norway, Finland, all the way down to the Mediterranean. In English and Cornish tradition, a hagstone hung on a stable or doorway was believed to protect travelers and animals. Parts of Italy and Greece, fishermen tie similar stones to their boats for luck and safe seas and better catches. Nordic stories say that the stones will give you second sight, and that the idea you can see through, like if you hold the stone to your eye and you look through the hole, it'll allow you to see through illusions and tricks. Yeah. Nowadays, most people consider hagstones to be like good luck. They're often worn as amulets to ward off illness and evil spirits and negative energy in general. But they're also used for prosperity and health. People will place them around the home, or like some people have like altars in their homes for whatever their belief is, or so they'll put it on their altar or wear one for its protective powers. Another legend is that Druids wore them as like a badge of honor or to create like status. Jumping back to more historic beliefs, European beliefs, according to British lore, if you hang a hagstone on a red string and you hang it by your front door, it will ward off evil. Tying in with that Norse folklore a little bit, but bringing it into more like Ireland area and other parts of Europe. The stones are called sea stones or fairy stones. And that is like if you put the stone to your eye and you look through it, you'll be able to see, like it will let you see through the veil. And within the McFap world, the veil, you'll hear the veil referred to pretty frequently, and that's sort of like the divider between the McFap world or like the fairy world and our world. It's the veil is what keeps those things hidden from us most of the time. So looking through a hagstone will allow you to see through the veil. But in some cultures, it's also believed, like hagstones, are also believed to help ward off the fae, because not all fae are friendly. Some are a little cantankerous. Some can be troublemakers. Some can be mean. Some can be awesome. They're sort of like people, sort of like a box of chocolates. Never know what you're going to get until you bite into it. However, I recommend not biting into a fairy. It probably won't end well for you.
Yeah.
People also hang them around horses' necks to prevent pixies from riding them at night. It's also believed people will hang them around horses' necks or livestock in general to prevent quote unquote witches from using them. So if a stone was hung around a horse's neck, a witch wouldn't be able to ride the horse. Or if it was tied around a cow's neck, a witch wouldn't be able to get the milk. Or if it was tied around a chicken's neck, it couldn't get the egg or whatever. But could you imagine running around trying to tie stones around chickens' necks?
No.
Okay, so yeah, so horrible. It would be a horrible idea. Maybe not a horrible idea. It would just be a horrible thing to try to run around and tie a bunch of stones to chickens' necks so witches can't have your eggs.
Yeah.
So talking about sort of jumping back to people using them to see through the veil. Also in some cultures, people believe that if you look through them, you'd be able to see like ghosts and other types of spirits as well. And they see that as almost like a form of protection because it would allow you to see like what you wouldn't typically be able to see and then be able to protect yourself from it. So you could stand in your house and look out and see if evil spirits were trying to get in. Different uses, different ways you can use them for home protection. If you tie a red or a black cord, most things I looked at, it was red cord, but there was one that's a black cord. You hang it on the inside of your front door. It's believed to protect from evil spirits. For sleep, it's believed that if you hang a small hagstone from your headboard just with simple twine, that the stone becomes a nightly cue to slow your breathing, to set tomorrow's plan, to let your mind settle, and also to usher you through from like the realm of waking to the realm of sleeping. And so the whole and passing through the whole sort of is representative of that journey between realms. For traveling, if you attach a small hagstone to your luggage or backpack, just protection. Some people keep a small hagstone in their pocket to help focus. And so when your mind drifts, your mind starts going other places where you shouldn't be, you can hold the stone, you can look through the stone. It's a reminder or a symbol of staying focused on a task and leaving the other parts of your life to the other parts of your life and stay focused on what you have now. And basically, the hole in the stone is symbolic of a physical tunnel that keeps you focused on the task at hand. People believe that if you have them in your garden, they will attract the right kinds of fae to your garden and keep the wrong kinds out. So, just a beneficial thing for your garden and outdoor space. Some people will put them around their home, not just to protect the entryway, but to protect the entire house. Yes, that's sort of basic entry introduction into hagstones, sort of what they are. And also some people, there's some back and forth on whether on how you obtain a hagstone. Most things I read and looked at encourage you to find your own. There were one or two that said gifting them is appropriate, but most said in order for it to be the most potent and most meaningful for you, you should really find your own. So the three resources I used the most, I used more than these, but these were sort of the three top ones, was rockseer.com, otherworldlyoracle.com, and eternalseer.com. So yeah, that's what I got for hagstones. Do you have any questions, Rainey?
So like for the people hanging it on the side of the ship, for like good luck and stuff. Do you think the ship Nomi did is connected to that?
Hmm, that's a good question. I hadn't thought of that. Um, Possibly, but I don't. So thinking back to the ship's right, that the ship's right mainly came from, I want to say, like Northern Europe, whereas the people who were attaching to their boats were more like Mediterranean, Southern Europe. So it was two different cultures, and I don't know if those beliefs overlapped at all.
Yeah.
But if you bring in sort of a third belief, maybe you could look through the stone and see if you have a ship's right, possibly. Do you have any other questions? Okay. Are you ready for the Tommy Knackers?
Yep.
Okay.
The darkness inherent to underground mining has steered folklore towards the realm of myth, mystery, and superstition and the supernatural. And because mines are never quiet, sound also contributes to the eeriness of the underground. The rock is always talking, making stress popping, grating, and even groaning sounds, while unseen water drips and air currents move in haunting whispers. Considering this underground environment, it is not surprising that mining folklore focuses on gnomes, spirits, and ghosts. And even the miner's patron saint is a tragic figure who is beheaded by her own father. Mining folklore was made in Central Europe during the late Middle Ages, when miners had no knowledge of science, engineering, to cope with conditions of the dark, mysterious underground. They turned to magical beings to keep them safe, quell their fears, and hopefully lead them to ritual work. These miners believed that the underground was inhabited by malicious territorial gnomes called kobolds who resented human intrusion into their world. And I'm also going to cover a little bit on the witch pleader, I think. Strange knocking sounds, likely caused by rock and timber stress, were interpreted as warnings not to proceed further, lest the kobolds raid a cave-in. Kobolds were thought to have poisoned copper and silver ore with arsenical minerals of a then unknown metal that was later named for them, Cabot. I think that's how you pronounce that. Even more troublesome were the Witchwaiter gnomes, who announced their presence by 3 distinct taps that were thought to be a death knell for miners, who had only enough time to make peace with their god before the mine collapsed. In D. Re Metallica, the classic 1556 mining work that is considered the first modern technology trade agricola, George Boer generally discredited the supernatural, except for the gnomes. He writes of good gnomes who help miners and bad gnomes who cause injury and even death, and fasting and praying to thwart the latter. In the 1700s, Leithen gnomes had migrated to the mines of Cornwall, England, where they were known as bukas, spring names most commonly knockers. The latter name for their habit of knocking on mine walls and timbers, only 2 or 3 feet tall and frighteningly deformed. Knockers sometimes helped miners by directing them to unseen ore veins, but if miners offended them or failed to leave them tidbits of food, they could cause deadly rock falls. Cornish miners believed that knockers were the ghosts of the Jews who had participated in the crucifixion of Christ and whom God had banished to the mines. Cornish miners also forced the existence of the fairy drake, or fairy dragon, an eerie dancing blue orb of light that led them to the richest ores. Non-miners accepted the miners' accounts of knockers and strange lights, because mining was a highly secretive profession. The public had no first-hand knowledge with which to challenge the tales. Mining is an ancient profession, and along with the backbreaking work and dangers of working in the dark underground, come century-old superstitions, the most notable being that of the Tommy Knockers. These impish gnome-like men are the Cornish equivalent of Irish leprechauns and English brownies. Germans called them, and I am most definitely going to pronounce this wrong. Burrows tries to pronounce the other one. And it's spelled Bertgeistr, meaning mountain ghosts or little miners. The Cornish believed that these wee little men were the souls of the Jews who crucified Christ and were sent by the Romans to work as slaves in the tin mines. This belief was so strong that the Tommy Knockers were allegedly never heard on Saturdays, nor at times of Jewish festivals. They were about 2 feet tall and often described as greenish in color. They look like men and are most often spied wearing the traditional miner's outfit. Living beneath the ground, they've been known to have committed both good and bad deeds through the centuries, often playing practical jokes and committing random acts of mischief, such as stealing untouched tools and food. The Tommy Knockers were first heard of in the United States when Cornish miners worked in the western Pennsylvania coal mines in the 1820s. When the California gold rush began, these experienced Cornish miners were welcomed and often sought after by the mine owners. Attempting to recruit more miners, managers often approached the immigrants, asking if they had relatives back in England who might come to work the mines. The Cornish miners would reply something like this: "Well, me cousin Jack over in Cornwall would have come, could ye pay his boat ride." Soon these many immigrant miners took on the nickname Cousin Jacks. They formed the core of America's early western mining work. As such, their superstition of the Tommy Knocker thrived and spread throughout the mines of the West. The name Knockers, pronounced Knackers, comes from the knocking on the mine walls that often happens just before cave-ins. Caused by the creaking of earth and timber, some thought these sounds of hammering were malevolent, indicating certain death or injury. Others saw their knocking as well-meaning, warning the miners that a life-threatening collapse was imminent. Yet others believed that the knocking sounds would lead them to a rich ore body and or signs of good luck. When these grizzled little gnomes were good, they were thought to bring miners' favors and wealth. But when they were bad, they were said to bring about misery, injury, and death to those who doubted their power or did not believe in them. It's important to stay on the good side of the Tommy Knockers. Many miners leave a bit of their lunch for the spirits, and to please them, they fashioned the little clay figures of the spirits. Tommy Knackers can be spiteful creatures if they don't like you.
Got it.
This is copyrighted. This next part is copyrighted, so there was this one miner named, I'm going to call him Jack, and he became a target of the Tommy Knockers. The Tommy Knackers drove him crazy by pelting him with stones, stealing his tools, blowing out his lantern. He couldn't figure out why the Tommy Knackers had singled him out until one day he heard a voice calling to him from the dark opening of a nearby shaft. "Jack, I want my $5, the Tommy Knacker said. Jack was so startled he dropped his tools all over the ground. The voice sounded just like that of his old friend, Bob, who had died in the cave-in a few months before. Jack had borrowed $5 from Joe and had never returned it. Jack went into the shaft, and sure enough, there was Bob Meister's ghost, shrunk to the size of a 2-foot dwarf with a big, ugly head, large ears, and a crooked nose. He wore a peaked hat, a leather jacket, and wider-soaked leather boots. The Tommy Knacker was not pleased to see Jack. And then he said, "Give me back my $5, Jack," the ghost of his old friend demanded. "I don't have any money on me, Bob," Eddie said, patting his pockets for emphasis. "I've heard that before," said the Tommy Knacker dryly. "I didn't believe it then, and I don't believe it now." The Tommy Knacker disappeared into thin air, leaving an uneasy Jack to wonder what the ghost would do next. He soon found out. All day long, Jack was plagued by the Tommy Knacker. His ladder was shaking so hard that he almost fell. The loud tapping noise of an invisible drum almost drove him mad. He just missed being buried by a rockfall, and through it all, Bob's voice would taunt him. You better give me back my $5, Jack. And then Jack said, I'll do it, Bob. All right, Eddie. Jack finally yelled into the mouth of the tunnel where his friend had appeared. I'll get your bloody $5. Abandoning his work for the day, Eddie made a long climb to the surface and took $5 silver from the money box he kept under a loose board in his bedroom. Then he climbed back down into the mine and stuck the $5 into a crack in the wall next to the place Bob's spirit had appeared to him. There's your $5, Bob, Jack shouted, his head echoing audibly in the dark tunnel. It's about bloody time, Bob said, peering next to him and peering critically into the crack where the money lay. Are you going to leave me alone now? Jack asked. Tommy Knacker grinned impishly at Jack. Maybe, he said. He scooped up the $5 silver and disappeared into the dark. And my sources are Legends of America and Rock and Gem.
Yeah, I know in Colorado, a lot of mining happens in Colorado, but Tommy Knackers are a large part of the folklore in Colorado. I even think they have a root beer named after them, if I remember correctly.
They do.
Oh, were you looking it up?
Yeah.
Gotcha. I was looking at your pen. I was like, what is he doing? Yeah, I remember. It's been say that again?
Since 1859.
Oh, wow. It's been around a while.
Yeah.
It's pretty tasty. If you are a fan of root beer, I highly recommend drinking some Tommy Knacker root beer if you're able to get your hands on some. They are not sponsors of us. However, I definitely wouldn't turn down them sponsoring us. It's good root, even if they just paid us some root beer. I like root beer. It's tasty. Yeah. So what else? Is that all you have for us?
Yeah. And I found this out a little while ago, but there was a baseball team that made the Squonk their logo or mascot.
Really?
Yeah.
I imagine they're from Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, let's hear it for the Squonk. Do you know what you're going to look up for our next thing? Me neither.
I don't know.
But regardless, next episode, Rusty, witches, stories of the program, stories about me. Yeah. And again, reach out if you have stories, if you want to talk, if you want to chat, if you want to come on, reach out to us. Email address again is mcfappodcast@gmail.com. mcfappodcast@gmail.com. Also on Facebook, gotten a little bit better about doing that stuff. Still could probably use some improvement. So thank you everybody for listening to our thing today. And until next time, Rainey,
don't be like the Squonk.
And don't pee in fairy circles.